After having had Samir Bapat as one of my earlier guests in our talk show Ground Zero Everyday Leaders, Samir, who happens to be my school classmate, we decided to invite Dr. Shripad Kamath, who also happens to be my school buddy, for our talk show episode number 8. And Shripad Kamath, who is also fondly called as Ajit by most of us. So I asked a few of my classmates to send me a little clip about describing Ajit in a couple of words. And listen, and here's what the guys had to say.
I'm Manuel, Ajit's friend through school and high school. And being the smarter and the more intelligent guy, Ajit went on to do medicine.
Knowledgeable but modest.
We did keep in touch though. And after his medicine, Ajit had so many opportunities.
I would like to describe Ajit as a person who is very energetic and dependable.
But he gave up all those and came back to Vasco to serve Vasco.
Ajit is a wonderful and helpful doctor.
And today a doctor of great repute.
2 words are too little to describe you, Ajit, but my personal 2 words that I pick for you are professional and empathetic.
Ajit is all of hardworking, fun, a knowledgeable guy. He can speak on any subject, wide spectrum altogether.
My dearest friend Ajit is God in human form.
And of late, he's become a master chef and throws a lot of wonderful cocktails too.
Ajit is one of the most cheerful persons I've ever met.
So I could go on, but Alan has given me a very strict instruction. He said, "Noel, not more than 2 words." So 2 is naturally followed by 3, and that's what Ajit is to me, a 3 a.m. friend.
Dr. Ajit, I can say, is a sincere and dedicated doctor, a loyal friend to many, and a humble and genuine person to the core. Truly a gem of a person.
Always cares.
Ajit, I wish you all the very best in life.
Unassuming, humble, salute to the doctor for the soldier.
And Alan, thanks for the opportunity.
Ladies and gentlemen, a very good evening and welcome to episode 8 of Ground Zero Everyday Leaders. One person in the medical fraternity whom I could confide in, if I may, one friend with whom I could discuss on any topic, or rather the encyclopedia of today's generation. He's none other than my very dear friend, my childhood buddy. Well, he's a doctor today, so I'm obliged to call him Dr. Shripad Kamath, whom we fondly call Ajit. All the near and dear ones, friends, relatives, and especially we classmates love to call him Ajit. Ajit, welcome to the show, Ground Zero Everyday Leaders, man.
Yeah, good evening, Alan. It's a nice Saturday today. It's been nice being with you here. I've seen your previous episodes. They have been so enlightening. I hope I can do something as enlightening as you have been doing for so long.
Well, I'm sure, Ajit, I mean, every time we meet, and this does not just happen to me, every time someone meets you is always an enlightening time. So I without a doubt can say tonight is going to be no different. So Ajit, we have spent time in childhood together. We have grown together, and I don't think I really will get through that journey because that's a very long journey, because every memory in the childhood has you in some part or the other when it relates to my childhood. So I will straight away jump to a very, well, not so, I wouldn't say it was a difficult thing for you, but yet, let me ask you this. Your inclination to be a doctor, right? Was it natural, or was it due to the family background that you had? Everyone in your family seemed to be a doctor.
Yeah, see, I would say that I have never been pressurized to become a doctor. But having so many doctors around, it was a natural thing.
Yeah.
Of course, obvious, it was a liking. So liking just got developed, and I was fortunate. I could study hard. I could get through the medical school. So that was one of the very important things, because when we join a medical school, always we don't have the full idea of what the medical profession is. So coming from a medical family, spending most of my time through a hospital with my parents, my uncles, everybody, still I felt that it was always there was a new aspect to it when I joined the medical college and took it up as a profession. Otherwise, on the other side, it looks a very glamorous field. But you have to see the hardships and everything on the other side, and the human touch which the doctors need to have. So which makes the thing very much different, not just glamorous thing, but very fulfilling thing.
True. And I like to interrupt you there, because you touched upon the human aspect, and I think you grew with that humane aspect when you were young. You remember the fracture the fall I had at the Tilak Maidan when we were playing soccer.
Yeah.
And the first thing I realized after I woke up, I was at your clinic and your dad was actually looking at my hand.
I still remember that myself, and I had Uday along with me.
True. No, I don't have vague memories. I have very bright memories about where I finally ended up. It was your clinic, your family clinic in Vasco. Ajit, you have been working in, after your medical studies, you have been working in various, fields or other departments or streams. Like, for example, I think you were associated with the government hospital. And finally, today, you are again back to your family clinic, taking full responsibility and care of it. What is the difference? I mean, what is the major difference that you see when you're working for a government organization or a hospital versus running your own show?
See, I have worked with Government of Goa for 8 years. Right from 2007 onwards, I completed my 8 years with the government in 2015. So both places have got their own charm. There is definitely a difference. The difference is in the sense the workload in a government hospital is gives you very good exposure to the field of medicine.
True.
Secondly, that is one place where you learn what is the importance of the human touch. So generally, you get the people in the government where they are coming to you and they don't have anywhere else to go. So this is when you can make the difference. As a government employee, it's your duty to deliver the services to the patient. And sometimes you realize that it is only you who can deliver it. Obviously, I had got many colleagues of mine who had excellent rapport with me and who were very much human, who taught me a lot, like my nurses, some hospital staff. I could learn a lot from them. And going ahead, I would say that was one of the points where I could really focus on what the medicine is, rather than just a bookish knowledge.
True.
So there are a lot of difficulties in the government in the sense that there is understaffing. I wouldn't say understaffing, but the number of people coming to you are much more than what you can service. There is also lack of equipments in certain places. But there are ways when you can overcome this. So that was one thing I felt in the government. So working in the government also gave me a lot of exposure to the humanitarian field. This is working with the United Nations. There is one organization in United Nations called UNFPA, that is United Nations Population Fund.
Right.
I worked with them in basically maternal and child health in disaster situations, so which is a mandate of the UNFPA. So I got very wide exposure working in the government. But then, as I took a change in my life, I decided to go into my private practice. Obviously, there were some reasons for it. And I don't see that there is a difference in both.
Right.
Your work has to be same. Professionally, you have to be equally competent in both the places. The only aspect is in private practice, the work is little less, but much more is expected from you.
Right.
According to the government, you have to in the government service, you also have to give a lot. So
Sure.
I don't see much difference. It was just a change of place, but there is no difference in the quality or the human approach to your field.
Well, every time we spend a moment with you, or rather an evening with you, we know how busy your phone is. You know, it's always buzzing. There's always that one call, and I think you're at the pick of your call, right? You are there for people. I mean, we'll touch a little on that subject a little later, probably. But the question I have for you is, what, according to you, Ajit, as it is, it's a very challenging life for you as a doctor and the medical field, at least from where I come from, I see it that way. But what, according to you, is the most difficult or challenging thing that a doctor has to undergo in his or her personal life?
See, I have been very fortunate with my wife Uma. She's also a doctor, so she understands a lot of my difficulties. So she supports me. There is no demand in the way where a non-medico would expect. So being a medico, she understands my hardship. At the same time, my son Akhil has grown up around me as working hard.
True.
Obviously, my mom,
Yes.
she has been also, my dad has been a doctor, so she also also knew what is in store for me.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
so on the home front, I don't think there are any issues which I had to overcome.
Yeah.
I'm fortunate that everybody around me are understanding.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's pretty, I would imagine growing with you. And as you rightly said, we spend so much of time, in fact, with your mom who used to take care of us as kids, because your home was the closest to our school. So we used to all swirl around, especially for our cricket matches during the intervals and so on and so forth. But most importantly, it surprises me, and thankfully, I am not one of them who got, influenced by your family and turned to the medical field. I don't say that out of any disrespect to the field, but man, looking at your hardships from the other side, as I said, it just makes me say that. But kudos to you guys. You guys do an excellent job, right? And that for some very human purposes. Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, Ajit, if there has to be one person whom you look up to, whether it's in the medical field or otherwise, whom would you pick up, Ajit?
It's very difficult to pick up one person. Because I have been fortunate to work in so many different fields where I will have to pick one person from each field. So that's a very challenging question of picking one person out for a particular
True.
and just name him as a hero. No, but there have been a lot of heroes in my life whom I have come across. So these people have really brought a change in my life. So they may not be some high-seated people or something. My very own nurses, my very own midwives in the labor room. So that's where most of our learning experience came from. There have been so many good professors, there have been so many good school teachers, you will agree.
Yes. Yes.
So picking up somebody would mean injustice to rest of all.
Well, that's a very broad answer that you've given to a very broad question. Again, it is very true. It is very, very difficult. And I always analyze that, guess when I ask this question, and this question comes as a very common question to every interview that I have. It is a very difficult question, and probably I must ask the question in a different way the next time. You're absolutely dot and spot on, Ajit. There are so many people who influence us as we grow in every phase of our life. Very true. Well, you were a part of the national disaster management team, if I remember correct. And I think that would have been a great experience, and especially in the world that we are in today, or rather the pandemic we are living in. Probably they have a big role to play. Your experience there.
So I was very fortunate when I was working in the Goa government. See, my director was very impressed with the work which I did in the cottage hospital. So I worked in a cottage in Vasco, where there was a non-functional OT. So after joining with the help of my colleagues, my seniors, superiors, we managed to start the OT. We managed to do a lot of work there, which was very much appreciated by my director. So when this training program came, she decided to send me to Pune for training. It was a very vague training course. So we also ourselves didn't know what to expect. But we decided, another colleague of mine, so we decided let's go with an open mind. So this program was organized by United Nations Population Fund, and it focused on maternal and child health. Okay, more than child health, we would call it a neonatal health.
Right.
Because what happens, the neonatal aspect of it means 42 days after delivery. So this is in the hands of the UNFPA. Moment it's more than that, it becomes a child, it becomes a mandate of the UNICEF. So we used to focus on neonatal health, maternal and neonatal health. So this program was designed to provide maternity care to the mother and the newborn in disaster areas. Always, we never think about the disaster situation because we say it's not going to happen. But it's just a matter of time where we may be at the receiving end. So a lot of research on this was done by UNFPA, and they found out that there are different mandates which they have under them, which required a relook during the disaster. So one of them was maternal and neonatal health. So when I went there, we had to go some rigorous training, and there were some tests. And they decided to include me in their program of selection of master trainers for all India level. So going through the program, there were two things. We had to go to many places all over India, study the places, study the region, study the areas there, study the healthcare status. And then we had to make a report every time. So after that, I got selected for the manual as an author for the national manual, which we published and we brought it out in 2013, 2014. Then this manual was very well accepted everywhere. So it is called a MIST manual. The whole program is about minimum initial service package.
Right.
This is a service package would mean services along with certain commodities which are necessary for the disaster prone zone. So we have designed this plan for all India level, and other mandates like HIV and AIDS, then gender-based violence, were all other mandates. Another very good aspect of United Nations is that they always have a interagency interaction. So that was also one of the mandates of this program. So after making the program, we had to put it in field trials. So field trials, the NDMA conducts certain exercises. That there was one exercise called DMAX, that is Delhi Emergency Management Exercise. So we put our program there. There are many courses. So one of the courses was our own course, which we put there in DMAX. Then there was another exercise called GMAX. GMAX is Guwahati Emergency Management Exercise. So we put our plan also in Guwahati. So when we did field trials, we perfected on that manual further.
Right.
Then once the manual got perfected, we decided to equip states with our program. The first state we picked up was Orissa. Because Orissa, you remember, there was a very bad cyclone.
True.
So in Orissa, we decided to take up the 13 coastal states, and we had training in every state. So program was like this. We were basically trainer of trainers.
Right.
So we trained trainers who would take it down to the lowest of the level, like Anganwadi workers, like the ASHA workers. So everybody was involved in this, the police. When we were training, we used to train the senior cadre. But after that, it went down much lower in the cycle, and everybody got trained in Orissa. So now, after that, there have been so many cyclones, but you also will understand that there hasn't been ever been a problem so much as it has happened in the past.
Right.
Another very important aspect when they found out was during the cyclone which happened in Philippines.
True.
There was a major cyclone in Philippines somewhere in the 2000s,
Right.
and they found out that they had to conduct 80,000 deliveries in a period of 3 months. So whatever it is, these mothers were going to deliver during 3 months, but the capacity which was there in the
Mhm.
healthcare sector was only for 40,000 deliveries. So the remaining 40,000 deliveries, the kits were provided by United Nations.
Wow.
So these kits came directly from Copenhagen to Philippines.
Right.
But in India, we have plans to develop it on our own.
Right.
Instead of buying from Copenhagen, we are making the kits now in India, which would be used during disaster.
Right.
So lot of innovation was there which we had to undertake because there were issues of standards, qualities,
True.
also logistics issues we had to answer. So per se, I think we did a pretty good job because it was accepted, most of the third world countries.
Right. Well, it just goes on to it actually reminds you of today, isn't it? It reminds you of the logistic issues we are going to have. That's the buzzword right now when we talk about the vaccines that are being presently developed. The logistics to handle delivery of those vaccines is something that the world is required to be equipped with going forward. But I want to stick on to that subject. How do like for the present pandemic, we had volunteers come forward for the vaccine, right? And you've been in the disaster management capacity. So how do you think volunteers should be chosen? Is there any process or any thumb rule that applies when it comes to choosing a volunteer for such vaccines?
No, see what happens is that whenever we take a sample, it's called the sample. So whenever a sample is taken, it's a part of statistics where samples are taken. So a sample study will consist of different people with different age group. Then again you have to choose between different comorbidities,
Mhm.
different ethnicities.
Right.
So lot of issues come when we are selecting the sample
Right.
because all your results are not going to be the same in the same individual.
True.
There are going to be side effects different in different ethnicities. A lot of studies are coming up, like they're saying in UK, the blacks have been affected more than the whites, and the Asians also have been affected more than the whites. So that is one of the studies which are coming out. But then there are a lot of other factors like Asians in UK are staying together, many people in one house. They have
True.
lesser access to healthcare services, finances. So that's also another thing. So that was a report which was going on the Sky TV some days back. It's a very good analysis which they have done of this program.
Right. Well, keeping on to that same question, or rather the same subject, the pandemic has taken a big, or rather put a lot of burden into the medical world. And what has your little experience been? I mean, I know being in that field or being in the medical field, you're certainly exposed to the pandemic. And what has your little experience been, Ajit?
Yeah. Fortunately for me, I would say as of now, I have been COVID negative. So I have been functioning. I have not stopped my work right from day one because I always feel that if we shut our shop, where do people go? It will be a panic situation.
Yes.
So most of the doctors I have seen in Goa have been working very hard during the pandemic. Okay, bearing some doctors who are very senior people who needed to be not coming into contact with COVID. Initially, we started with lot of misconceptions.
Yeah.
See, we had never had faced the pandemic situation before. Not that it was not predicted, but it was very hard to imagine. So all of us grew up, we never thought the streets would be empty ever.
True.
So going through empty streets was something which we never thought would happen.
Probably just a sci-fi movie.
Yeah. See, there was a lot of scare. And nobody knew what was happening during the initial times of pandemic. So initial times were scary because of the lack of our knowledge.
True.
See, today in Goa, we have so many people who have recovered. The recovery rates have been very high. Yes, we have fatalities, but most of them are having comorbidities. Age is another factor. So now we are getting also news that vaccines are coming out. So that is one thing we think would be our way out of this pandemic.
Yeah.
But certainly it's a long road. Too early to say vaccine effectivity because this is an RNA virus. So we haven't yet developed vaccines prior to it. But we get such rosy news about saying the 95% coverage, 90% coverage. It's not my specialty. So I would not like to comment over it. But certainly, I feel it's a longer road than what we are actually seeing about 90 and 95%. No, it should be
I would imagine.
faster than that.
I would imagine, Ajit, and that's right thing to have said, because people who are specializing in it are probably the best to comment. But certainly, your experience or rather your expertise does add a lot of value too. But one place where one area you could certainly provide your expertise or advice would be discipline when it comes to people's reaction or behavior to such a pandemic, right? What has been your experience when it comes, let's say, for example, just the port town of Vasco, where you hail from? How has the behavior been? How have people been reacting to it? And are you happy about the protocols being followed?
See, contrary to the popular belief in Goa, I would say Vasco people have been very disciplined. Well, initially, when the pandemic came, it was more of ostracizing the people from Vasco.
Very
It
true.
was a very difficult situation because most of the people I knew were following the protocols well. See, there were some incidences where certain areas were, quarantined. Government also did their best. The health system also did their best. So a lot of things have gone. See, we only see we get to hear or we get to read are all the negative parts. But there have been a lot of COVID warriors, lot of people who have been very disciplined. So I would not agree that Port Town has been indisciplined. I would not agree. But I'm giving my personal viewpoint because of meeting so many people. And I know even my patients how responsible they were during the pandemic. So they would wear the mask, they would come in singly, even when they would maintain good social distancing. So I would not complain about anybody misbehaving or something like that. But that's the contrary belief which all of people from Vasco are somehow being blamed for.
Right. No, I think you represented Vasco and clarified that pretty much very clearly for the world to hear. So I'm sure the Vasco cars will be very, very proud of your statement there. Well, Ajit, on a lighter note, do you remember any of your childhood memories that really come out aloud and you'd like to share on a and as I said, on a lighter note?
Yeah, on a lighter note, there are a lot of memories. Just like I said previously, I cannot say one particular memory holds over everything. But I certainly remember all the time I spent with your family.
Yes.
Most of the Sundays and weekends. I still miss that when we used to just watch the Spider-Man and get out of the house. So I was at your place.
Absolutely right. Absolutely.
And
right.
always your mom used to say, meet over for lunch, and we would have lunch together and then walk all the way back to my house. And till we decide who would reach each one home first.
Very true. Very true. Very true. Well, the fun really has been missed big time. Hopefully our generation of children have, if not the best of what we enjoyed, at least half or 50% of what we enjoyed, because I think those were some absolutely delightful days. Just climbing the trees itself was a good experience, to say the least. Ajit, if you had to give one advice, let's say, to aspiring young individuals who want to make the medical field as a career, especially the ones who come from a background with no medical history, their family has not been in, unlike your family, right? but there are many who yet desire to go into the medical field, and I'm sure there are many doctors who have come that route as well. So, what would be the advice that you would want to give to these people? Because they would have heard you speak about the challenges that arise around your field, but I'm sure there are a lot of good things, and of course the human touch, which brings the biggest joy and satisfaction, I'm sure, to every doctor in the medical world. So, what would be that one advice, Ajit?
So I would just say to these people who are aspiring, believe in your heart. A lot of people think of medical as a career. It's a career to get them a name, fame, a big car. No, that is what not medical is. See, all these things are byproducts of a good medical professional. They are byproducts. They are not the goals. Yes, certainly you can become a successful doctor, but a doctor cannot be successful unless he is very well qualified, and he cannot be very well qualified if he doesn't have the human touch. So, if these people who really want to go into medicine because they want to deliver a service, they should certainly go. There are hardships, nothing comes easy, because here the professionalism that you need has to be 100%. You cannot say that I have done 99% of the work. You have to understand that always it is 100%. You have to put the patient before yourself many times. There are certain fields which are more challenging than others. Something like cardiac surgery, obstetrics, anesthesia, very demanding profession, surgery. So people need to choose wisely as to what they want to do, what are their goals, and not just jump into medicine because someone else wants to become a doctor, or there are family pressures to become a doctor. You should go and ask his heart, what I am ready to give back to the society. We all need to give something back to the society. Society has given us so much.
Very well said, Ajit. I mean, a good physician treats the disease, they say, but the great physician treats the patient who has the disease. And Dr. Shripad Kamath, whom we fondly call Ajit, you continue giving the world, the society around you, the Vasco cars around you, and the people of Goa a lot more, because we deserve to have people like you, and people like you must be known to many, many others. Because Ajit, you, if there's one line to summarize you, it is, I gave up my life to learn how to save yours. Is exactly what you say when one sees you, and that's shown and reflects in your personality. And this I say with no holding back with words. I don't mince words when I say this, and I'm sure everyone who has met you in his life or our lifetime would say the same and would agree with me 100%. So Ajit, keep giving back to the society, the world, and God bless you and your family. You are such a wonderful friend to have. And we are such a wonderful bunch of proud St. Joseph 89 batch when we talk about you all the time, right? We are delighted to have you as our batchmate. So thanks, Ajit. Once again, thanks for your time, especially tonight.
Yeah. Have a great weekend.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. God bless.